everybody. Welcome to the Kimberly Cloud Show. I'm your host, Kimberly Cloud. I have a very, very special guest here for the show today. Can you go ahead and announce to the world who you are and where you're calling from?
Well, thanks, Kimberly, and it's wonderful to be with you. I am Jeff Rasley, and I am in Indianapolis, Indiana.
Can you tell me your past story leading up to your present extensive, however deep you want to go? I'm all ears.
Well, thank you. Well, I grew up in a small town in Indiana and could hardly wait to get out of that town. So, when I was 18, I hitchhiked across the country, which was kind of the first of many travel adventures. Um, but I did eventually graduate from college, went on to law school, practiced law for 30 years, but also continued doing a lot of adventure type travel, like motorcycling down through Mexico, scuba diving, solo kayaking islands in the Pacific. But what really sort of changed the direction of my life was when I was 42, I trekked to the Mount Everest base camp and really fell in love with the Nepal Himalayas and ended up becoming a mountaineer leader and hooked up with a local outfitter company in Nepal called Adventure Geotreks, and also started a foundation to help build infrastructure development in a remote area of Nepal where my friends in Adventure Geotreks come from, called
So
Basa.
y'all, so y'all basically created infrastructure in Nepal.
Yeah, in this area called Basa,
Very impressive.
oh, thank you.
Okay, you can continue.
Well, I was just going to say that what we did with this remote village is our American Foundation funded the building of a school, hydroelectric system, water system, a community health center. And our latest project was to help the community develop a commercial enterprise in pigs and goat raising.
Oh my God, that is so encouraging for the kids. Yes, that is so cool. Yeah, so how did the hydroelectric system help them? That's like water and electric, mixing water and electric or something.
Well, so the water powers electricity. They didn't have electricity. They didn't have running water. They didn't have telephones, TV, radio. They were living like, 500 years ago. They didn't have any vehicles with wheels. They did their farming by either pushing the plows themselves or hooking a plow up behind water buffalo. So it was very undeveloped, and the first thing they asked help with was for a school. So we partnered with them, build a school, and then the next project was the hydroelectric system so they could have electricity.
How did how did y'all first how did where is Nepal located, by the way? I just have to know because I don't go outside of the US.
Um, okay, so if you can picture where India and China are, Nepal is about the size of Arkansas, and it's kind of scrunched in between India and China. So, it's in Asia. They call it Southeast Asia, is the part of the world where it is.
Okay. And are you still extending this infrastructure?
Yeah, yeah. we last year uh, began funding the pigs and goats project, and so that's ongoing. And our most recent project, which is not exactly infrastructure, but we hope it'll help the village, is a filmmaker from New Zealand wants to make a film about Basa and the work of the Basa Village Foundation. So we're financing this filmmaker to go over there, and he'll be leaving actually in just a couple weeks to go and make a film about the Basa area and the what's happened there.
What does Nepal has to offer prior to the infrastructure and now with the infrastructure here? What what attracts and what makes people want to visit Nepal? Is it the trekking, you know?
Yeah, it's the tourism is the second biggest industry in Nepal after agriculture, and people go for the mountains. I mean, the mountains are the highest, most spectacular mountains in the world. You know, everybody knows about Mount Everest. So, people who are, into adventure travel and, kind of challenging travel go and either hike through the mountains and if, you're really daring and have the experience, you do the mountain climbing.
Okay. And after you did trekking, how was it a spiritual journey for you? Because you did it quite a few times.
Yeah, I went back so a total of 14 times in about 20 years. And the first time I went, because I had been, really living this very busy professional life, working hard and raising two small kids and serving on a number of boards, it just helped me to slow down. You have when you're up in the high mountains, it's very difficult, even just to walk. So just focusing on taking one step at a time, but at the same time being in these spectacularly beautiful mountains, I it helped me to refocus and not be focused so much on the future in terms of, building my practice, making more money, being ambitious, and just enjoying the reality of today and being in the moment.
Okay, well said. How did the infrastructure that y'all produced help the government? Because it had to help the government and it had to be approved through the government in order for that to happen. So, how much, if you don't mind explaining, was this infrastructure and how did this infrastructure help, like their government, with more tourists and more money, income coming in so that they can build a better foundation, a more because they were 500 years. That's kind of sad that in this world places are 500 years behind us. That I would expect that for another planet, not another country, So how did this infrastructure help their government or
Yeah.
will help their government?
And one thing I would say is the people in Basa Village are very happy. They're more happy than most Americans are because their lives are very simple and they're subsistence farmers, and what's meaningful to them is their relationship. So their families are very close. But in terms of the relationship with the government, where originally there was no relationship with the government because the government hadn't done any of this. So, in effect, the foundation was doing what in most other countries the government either did or subsidized. And so, in that respect. We were replacing what utilities and boards of education would do, but the community runs it itself. They created their own school board, their own utility board, and so we don't have anything to do. I mean, the American Foundation, we don't have anything to do with how it's run. We just provided the funding, provided some engineering expertise. And then, so because we wanted to make sure that this would be theirs, that they were completely invested in it. It's not, we didn't want to develop a welfare system where they would be dependent on us to run things. So they run their school, they run the utilities. They have people that were trained as teachers, people that were trained to run the hydroelectric system, the water system. And so yeah, we really sort of stepped in where the government had not been. And unfortunately, the only thing the government has really done is made it more difficult, because when there were terrible earthquakes in 2015, and the government then started seizing all money that was coming into Nepal from outside foundations like ours. And so we wanted to help rebuild the village after the earthquake, and we had to figure out a way to get around what the government was doing. So we couldn't just send the money over to the local bank account like we had done in the past. So we we found a way to get around that. But since then, the government doesn't seize the foundation monies anymore, but they take a huge cut out of it. They'll take 13% when we send out, like for the Goats and Pigs project. The government takes 13% out of the money that's funding that, which then, reduces the amount of money that there is to purchase, the baby piglets and goats. So, I hate to say it, but I don't, so far, at least in these remote areas of Nepal, I don't see the government as being really helpful. And if you followed the news just a month ago, that there was almost a revolution in Kathmandu, the capital. They burned down it was all young people, mostly college students. They burned down the parliament building, they attacked parliament members, and the government has completely reshuffled. They have a new prime minister, but people were really furious because of the things that I'm describing.
Okay. Okay. And was this like this, since you did not work with the government, this was like independent contracting, right? Sort of like
Yeah,
doing everything independently for the
yeah,
people and not
yeah, but
by the government.
right, but what we do is the local people do all the labor. When we needed an outside engineer, like to plan out the hydroelectric system and the water system, we had an American engineer consult with a local Nepali engineer. So the two of them worked together, came up with a plan, and then the local people executed it. They built the system entirely themselves. They built the school. They did have some outside help in rebuilding after the earthquake, because they needed some stonemasons to come in and help rebuild some of the houses and the school. But other than that, all of the labor has been done by the local people themselves.
Tell me about one trekking adventure where you thought that you weren't going to make that journey up the hill. I just learned what trekking mean. Not by you, but by a song. I looked it up and I was like, wow, that's what trekking means. So when you brought trekking to me, I was like, wow, this is so cool, because the people that sing in the song is spiritually in tune with mountains, They love mountains. And so tell me about that
Well,
journey.
the when a trekking experience goes well, it's just, you're high up in the mountains, you're in this fantastically beautiful area, and the your local porters carry all the heavy stuff. So if you're camping, they carry the tents, the cooking equipment, and you just carry, what you need for the day. So you can enjoy just moving without a heavy load on your back. Um, but it can be risky. Like one time after a mountain climb, when we were trekking out from the base camp of the mountain, there was an avalanche, and it killed three Nepali porters who were up higher than we were when the avalanche happened. But everybody in my team, we were running for our lives, and luckily, we survived. None of us were hurt. We were cut off from our crew, our porters, and that was really dicey for a while. But eventually, we were reunited, and the snow was up to our hips. It was so deep. So that was, you know, uh, but that's not your typical trek. Your typical trek is you're just, hiking at your own speed, and then either you stay in a lodge or you tent camp, depending on which way you want to go. If you want to have a little, uh, easier time at night, you stay in a lodge. And now most of the popular trekking areas in Nepal, the lodges all have hot water, electricity, and so forth, which they didn't have when I first started doing this back in the mid 90s. So it's a lot easier now.
So you can say basically that bears and whatever nature is out there in the mountains are not the problem. That Mother Nature can create challenges for just like life challenges, and you have to be prepared for that while trekking. Can you say, is that safe to say?
Yeah, it is, and which is one of the things I love about trekking is the challenges are very immediate, and they're right there. It's not negotiating the complexities of modern society, and who are you going to offend and whose toes you're going to step on. Whereas there, it's just getting up that mountain.
So let's rewind back to law and business. Do you remember the college you went to and how you created an atmosphere of challenge for yourself? Because it's not easy to become a lawyer. It's definitely not easy. It takes logic and a lot of other stuff. So take me on that journey when you became a attorney and what it meant to you.
Well, I really loved college. My undergrad was University of Chicago. Here's my coffee, my Chicago coffee cup.
Mm.
Uh, and it was a wonderful learning experience. Law school was different. Law school is very focused. You read hundreds and thousands of cases written by judges who are not necessarily very good writers, and then you have to learn and memorize all the principles of the cases that you've studied, and then you regurgitate it all in one final exam. They don't have quizzes, they don't have multiple choice tests. It's all essay. You get an example of a case, and then you have to analyze the case, and in doing so, regurgitate the legal principles you supposedly learned that semester. And then what's kind of strange is after you go through that, and it's all essay writing, to become a licensed lawyer, you have to pass the bar exam, and the bar exam is 2.5 days of very intense testing, and it's almost all multiple choice, short answer, just the opposite of what you did in law school.
You
Um,
know,
but it's a grind. I mean, it's a real grind.
how did your family feel, like your friends and family, when you finally achieved that hard but realistic goal?
Well, my parents were were delighted and proud, and I was married. My wife and I were married my last year and a half in college. So we went through law school. She was in school part of that time, and she was out working, helping to support me getting through law school part of the time. But she got a two master's degrees and became an English professor. So, yeah, I mean, both of us spent a lot of a lot of time in school, and then since then we've both been professors. After I retired from the law, I taught at Marian University and Butler University here in Indianapolis for several years. So, yeah, I probably spent more years in school than out of school.
Do you think that college paid off your career? Do you think that college is, some people say college isn't worth it, that it's a scam. Do you think that college is actually worth the cost and the challenges that we go through to be in college? What is your thoughts?
It really depends on your goal. I mean, you have to graduate from college if you want to go to law school, med school, dental school, any of the professional schools, you have to do it. Um, if that's not your goal, like if you want to go into the trades, you want to be an electrician, a carpenter, pipe fitter, yeah, college is pretty much a waste of time. Other than if you get a liberal arts degree, it will expand your consciousness. You'll learn a lot of things that, maybe won't make money for you, but I think will make you a wiser, more intelligent, and a better person. So I think it has that value for anybody. But in terms of career, um, yeah, you need to, kind of in the economic, financial side of it, you need to figure out, well, what's my end point? What kind of career do I want to have? And if you don't need college to have that career, well, don't do it unless you just want to do it for the experience of expanding you as a person.
Where do you see yourself going in the future, Jeff?
Well, I'm also the president of another foundation called the Scientech Foundation of Indiana, and I really love what that foundation does too. It funds science, technology, engineering, and medical programs throughout Indiana for mostly for underprivileged kids. So, I'm going to continue devoting time and energy to that as well as to the Basa Foundation. And I'm working on my 18th book now, so I'll continue writing. You know, uh, and I also play pickleball 3 or 4 times a week. So that I'm still getting my athletic, competitive uh, need out on the pickleball court.
I hear pickleball is pretty fun to play, and a lot of people that are like your age and your age bracket, they play that game. So I'm gonna try it out. I'm gonna research it a little bit more and see where they're playing pickleball at, because it's helps with exercise, but it's fun and you don't notice that you're exercising, when you're having fun. And that's all it's about, is exercising without knowing you're exercising, and that makes it all worthwhile. Don't you agree?
I absolutely agree. Um, I mean, I work out because I'm sort of fanatical about staying in shape, even when I don't play pickleball. But yeah, you're right. It's a fun game, and it's good exercise, and it's very social too. I mean, the two groups I play in, we have a good time.
Okay. And tell me one last thing. If you had to give a piece of advice to someone that wants to take the bar, wants to get a JD degree, what would you tell them?
Well, I would say a really important trait you need to do well in law school is well, three things. One, be a good reader because you have to read a lot. Two, be a good writer because you have to write these blue book essays. And three, have a good memory. Excuse me, because you have to remember all of those case principles. So those three things are necessary to succeed. But the other piece of advice I would give, excuse me,
It's
beyond
okay.
law is to just live your life like it's a work of art. Make your life beautiful and don't worry so much about uh, things like, you know, ambition and the next dollar you're going to make. Because if you have the skills, the drive, the know-how, all of that will come. So make your life beautiful every day.
Well said, Jeff. And how can the people reach you?
I have a website. It's my full name, Jeffrey, which is what my mom called me when I was in trouble. Rasley. So just jeffreyrasley.com. I also have a author's page on Amazon, so you can input my name either in Amazon or Google, and you should find the website.
Stay on the line, Jeff. Thank you, everyone, for joining my show today. Take care, be safe, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.
Never waste my time, you are I want.